Welcome to the Flicks, Picks, and the Nitpicks. And I am your humble host, 0718, and we're going to get into this first. I don't know if I'm going to number these, call it an episode, but we're just going to try something out every now and again with this edition of predictions. And it's the Batman predictions. And I'm going to tell you off the rip, this is not based on anybody else's analysis. I think I said it on one of my Just the Talks, but I wanted to try something to do predictions where I can thoroughly express the energy that I'm getting online and wherever else I'm pulling from. And I'll let you know where I preface it from. You know, I'm going to keep it as 100 as I can, you dig? And this one is just going to come up off the energy that I'm getting offline and bounce it against the energy that I've seen with Spider-Man, with other types of films. And from what I understand, based on not too much readings, but I've listened to the YouTubers talk about other articles that WB has not really said what they think this film will end as, the Batman. And I'm not exactly, I mean, they didn't say what they think, that they don't have their predictions out there. You know, they've been quiet. As of right now that I know, it's technically the 2nd of May is after midnight, but March, but yeah. So I try to stay off at line from following stuff so I can give you my honest personal opinions, although I do listen to a lot of YouTubers. But for real, gauging from the energy that I'm getting online, I still think the Batman will be successful if you balance it against the budget. I believe it will do Man of Steel numbers. It will do good. I think it'll hit 650. The median. The highest 850. I don't think it'll be a Billy Goat. Are people Batmaned out? I think there's a mild fatigue of it. A mild fatigue in the sense that we have Batman on TV, Batman in the DCEU, which we haven't gotten a chance to know so well, and a new Batman that just popped up, an old Batman that was on in Batgirl. You have another Batman that's in Titans. You know what I'm saying? So you got so many different Batmans, and this is something that people were afraid of before. This is why they didn't do a lot of multiple universes. The difference with Spider-Man and why now we could talk about it, that they were successful doing the multiverse, was because they utilized well-loved characters, even though all this extra love for Andrew Garfield is a little weird online, but not to say that anyone really shitted on him as Spider-Man as much. You know, I know I've always heard glowing remarks online from the energy from Tobey Maguire. I like Tobey Maguire a lot. Soft spot for the dude because that's my favorite superhero. To see him depicting him first on live screen is dope. But I always thought aesthetically he never really looked like Peter Parker to me, at least the one that I read in the books. You know, but he played him well, especially for what Sam Raimi was trying to present. I thought Andrew Garfield just looked a little bit more like the Spider-Man I read in my comic books. You know what I'm saying? And especially in Spider-Man 2 where he wore the costume. And the fact that in the first one they tried to get a little bit more edgier, a little darker, if you will, with Spider-Man, which I really liked because it kind of was trying to set themselves a little bit apart, make him a little bit more realistic in the real world, if you will. But at the same time, in the second one, they didn't know what kind of tonality they wanted to do. Burnt their bridges, fine. Started a new Spider-Man. People are loving this Spider-Man. He was booted in the MCU. So many things going for it. And because we all now know what happened with Spider-Man 3 in Sam Raimi's universe, the behind the scenes stuff, and the fact that they wanted to do a 4, a lot, it's becoming a little bit more well known with the internet and all, that it was almost good to bookend them because they didn't end off on a high note, that they everyone would have liked it, because at the end of the day these movies were great, but it just, their last films was not as satisfying as the film that came before it. So you had a lot of cachet coming into this. So just to see them and kind of like nod at a lot of other things that you remember from all those films, it was just remember berries by the boatload. You dig it? So everybody was getting a piece of the remember berries. The bottom line is that the MCU somehow was able to choose the right time to do this, and they did it the right kind of way. But they were already a cohesive universe, so every move they make was extremely woven very well. You gotta give them props for it. The problem is now with a DCEU that had time, and still, because they don't know what they're doing, don't know which direction to go in, because the fan base has got them not sure how to react. Let's be fair. 1 minute we wanted one thing, so they try to pivot, and the next thing we want another thing, and they were wrong, and then we're trying to pivot back, and now it's just become a big beefing, and then in-house beefing and all that weird shit that the WB never was able to give you a Batman film on its own with Ben Affleck. Never was able to build Superman up to that point where we take him away to get the weight of that, and it's understood that he wanted to get him there, but people also forget, you know what I mean? In order to get him there, he had to utilize Superman for another reason, dying, because they wanted Batman now. We could have waited another Superman movie just before that, and then do BVS, and it would almost been like his third movie. And imagine removing Superman then. The oomph, you would have had another added oomph to the film that would have gave so much more weight to everything that they were trying to explain. But they wanted to tell the bigger stories, and I'm a firm believer that a good storyteller can still make you feel it. Unfortunately, a lot of people can't, when we have a superhero universe operating and functioning so well for so many years. The pressure for them to have to do the same thing was just immense. And the fact that they can't utilize those three, utilize an older Batman or the Tim Burton's Batman. Now this might not even be Batman. It might be another type of Batman, just using Michael Keaton, using that type of cachet. We can't even utilize the Tim Burton Batman. Imagine if they would have worked up to it, and then you would have talked to Tim Burton and try to build out his universe with it. Make even Tim Burton get a producer's credit, and then spin off and do another Tim Burton movie. That could open up the door for the multiverse to be people to buy into it so much. It's almost now at this point they're utilizing movies to explain why they have to go a different direction instead of being able to tell dope stories first. And because you're spending so much time messing with your universe to turn it another way, it's throwing people off when they're coming from another, studio that mirrors you, and they've got it going all the way through. And make no mistake, it's nobody. I wouldn't even blame the WB for not doing what MCU is doing. They should not. They should do what they want to do. And if you wanted to make an integrated universe, there was a way to do it. There was a very big way to do it. But instead of staying the course and maybe operating, you can pivot a little bit, but there's ways to do things. You know what I'm saying? And it's easier said than done. Hindsight is 20/20, etc., etc. And when you're dealing with a lot with big movies that are taking a lot of money from other people and spending so much money into a release date, that To break those engagements, to push a date back is one thing. But then when you also have a studio house that wanted to make their bonuses that, yeah, if you all know the story, less needed to be said about it, then this is what you're going to deal with. Now, with all of that being said, you got all of that in a gumbo of them not knowing what to do with their universe, that this kind of slows down everything for all your other films, especially for a Batman film that is already overexposed. And you're saying you have a multiverse, but we haven't had enough time with any Batman for a long enough time that when you explore a multiverse and they meet other Batmen, which Christian Bale is not going to do from what I understand with Christopher Nolan, especially now with the WB kind of not having this real propensity of effing things up. Bale wouldn't want to be a part of it. Imagine if the DCU was operating very well, starting to do a multiverse, all of that, or did it already, and everything is just working pretty good. I think Christian Bale would be more interested in doing a cameo in it. And imagine if he did that. It would have made that film where we first see Michael Keaton and Christian Bale together the first time would have went right through the roof. But there's no energy, which you have the vocal majority already divided and eating its own tail and fighting each other up over this. And these are the guys that are supposed to go out there and sell that movie by word of mouth and with excitement and anticipation. And you're getting that. So the bottom line is that I really think that that's going to be a defining factor in why there isn't, at least in my opinion, a big swell of energy to go see the Batman. Because I just don't see the energy like that. Not like how you seen with Spider-Man and all the rest of it. Like, I've heard people that say they're fans of the DCEU just would spend mad time calling Keaton an old man. Like, this is how they make movies. He just did an action movie recently, and I didn't see the film. I want to see it though, but I seen the trailers of it, and he looked convincing enough to pull that John Wick shit off. So come on, like, this is movie magic. I know we want to see Ben Affleck, but come the fuck on. But these people act like they weren't kids growing up on Batman 89. I'm going to eat that shit up regardless. Even though I want to have a Ben Affleck, at the end of the day, I'm a comic book kid. I'm going to watch all these movies and still wish I had a Ben Affleck Batman. I can do all of it. I also understand boycotting, and there's some people that legitimately will do it. I really don't think that I think it's going to be a failed campaign. But no matter what, I do believe that this film will do good. It'll just do Man of Steel numbers. Now, the question is, like I said, I'm going from a median 6,650. I don't think it'll go under 6, but I'll say a median 6,650. You know what I mean? But no further than 850, I do believe. I don't think it'll make $1 billion. And this is not me wishing it. I just don't feel the energy is out there for $1 billion, even amongst the general population. I think the general population will go out to see this film. It's not a MCU film. Guaranteed. Whether you like it or not, people are going to hate it. I think Doctor Strange is going to beat it at the box office. I just think the Batman will do very well with respect to the budget. If it does 650, it's good. It's a go. And I also think that a lot of the publicity around is mildly fabricated. It's more people wanting to be the contrarians to the Snyderverse. I do get an energy of that. I don't think people are excited about it as much as possible. I think those that felt played or to the point, or played themselves to the point where they accepted as a slight that there was a Snyder cut and that they did release it even when they believed they wouldn't. These are the people that are to a degree faking the hype. to a degree, faking the hype around this film. To a degree. We'll do that. We'll do one specifically on that later. But I do believe there's a level of it. I don't know if it's as much, but I think it's a vocal minority. A vocal minority of faking the hype. And I think that's why some people might really believe that it's going to make more than what they selling it to be. I really do believe you're going to find that at the end of the day, Marvel, no one's going to beat Marvel with their superhero universe. There's a possibility, but it's going to take either just the next incarnation of the DCEU when you guys do a full-on reboot, or if you reboot it through the padded city, you'll build it from there upwards. And there's nothing wrong with building from 850 or 650 to the next movie doing even more. Gradually, people will flock to it. It's all about the next movie that you put out afterwards. Which character you're going to go with, because you're still going to have Aquaman from this DCEU, and that's the thing now. So that's why I say just rock out with this Batman for as long as it can, and when he gets older, make him the new Ben Affleck, and then introduce a Superman then, because by then, in 10 years time, I like to think that Snyderverse or no, I think the DCEU as it stands won't go no further. I think it could have before had they has stayed on point on course and built it from the ground up instead of expecting them to get endgame numbers just out the gate just because. And I think this is why they're being a little bit, if not discreet, but really, really lowballing the film. Because, and this is one thing I wanted to say about faking the hype a little bit. Because I did notice a lot of people, well, you know what? We'll save that for another day. We'll do that again. But bottom line, that's my predictions. Those are my reasons why. That's why I gauged it. And I think it'll still do good. I think it'll still do good. But I also think that after this movie drops, there's going to be a whole lot of contradictions. That's what I've always believed, but I'm not going to lie. I started seeing people posting things that may make me stand corrected. Saying that I see some headlines on my YouTube feed. I didn't click anything because I want to give you my raw opinions from the beginning. But I was very surprised when I seen something saying it's too dark. And I'm like, oh, let me find out. People might try to be consistent this time. But when we get there. But with that being said, that's it for me and my predictions. 6 or 650, no more than 850. I don't believe it'll do $1 billion, but I think no matter what, from 650 on doing good, I think that's gonna be real good. Now here goes a real interesting one now. If it does Man of Steel numbers, just under Man of Steel numbers, just under, because it won't fall dramatically underneath Man of Steel. That's just not happening with Batman. But just under Man of Steel numbers, even though the profits will obviously be more because of the, the budget. I promise you, it's going to make a lot of Snyder Cut fans calling it out. And here's what